Yes, people, what is going on? I hope you are all good. I'm back. I'm doing Chelsea content. I'm doing YouTube content. I've kind of taken some time off, but we're back into the regular stuff now. So let's start getting into it. Let's start talking about it. Subscribe if you are new around here. We're pushing for 20k. We're almost there. Let's get it done. Maybe even before the start of the season, or at least by the end of August. Let's just get it done. Let's get it sorted. So, there's a lot to talk about with Chelsea. I'm going to mention multiple things in this video. We're going to start with the freshest news, which has come out today. Simon Phillips and a handful of other people have reported that Chelsea have had 2 bids turned down for Romelu Lukaku. And apparently there's going to be a 3rd bid coming in. It's been reported by many people. Kind of go on Twitter and you can see people and incredible sources talking about it. The Athletic mentioned it. It's going round, it's doing the round. So I just thought I'd kind of give my opinion on that and a handful of other stories as well. Let's start with Lukaku and let's start actually with Haaland. The deal for Haaland looks incredibly difficult to do. And people are saying, oh, Roman's freeing up the money and it's going to come and it's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And then I saw another thing saying that Haaland's future is going to be decided within 7 to 10 days, which makes a lot of sense because that's before the season starts. So it makes a lot of sense in that regard. But then you say that we've had 2 bids turned down for Lukaku and there's going to be a 3rd one. Now questions start to be asked. Chelsea need a centre-forward. We all know this. Anyone that's got any sense know that Chelsea need a centre-forward because as much as it's great putting chances on the plate for a centre-forward, we've kind of playing a false 9 with Kai Havertz at the back end of the season. He was playing up front by himself. A little front 3 of Pulisic and Mount or Ziyech or Werner or whoever it was. Any one of those in the kind of other 2 spots and then Havertz up top. That won't work all season. And it will be very easy to play against. Now, not saying it's anything against Kai Havertz or Mason Mount or Pulisic, but it does just become very predictable to play against. The idea of having a big proper centre-forward, and especially someone like Haaland, is he's got multiple different finishes in the bag. Havertz's heading ability isn't like world-class. It's not elite. He's not like an absolute danger in the air. He's quite thin. He's quite slight. Is he going to go and bully a centre-half to go and get in ahead of him and just glance one home? Probably not. So that's one kind of avenue of attack kind of just got rid of already. Then you think about, well, you've got the other 2 forwards. Mason Mount, Pulisic, Werner, Ziyech, all small. The area ability is completely out of the window. Not obviously a complete write-off, but it's not going to win you a game. It's not going to change a game. Then you start thinking about who's got different finishes in their locker. Now, to be fair to Kai Havertz, scored the goal yesterday against Arsenal. Great finish, but did have a lot of space. It was on the counter-attack, and he made it pay. He just did lash it at the near post, which sometimes is exactly what is needed. But again, if you see it all the time, you know what's coming, and it just turns into being a bit boring to watch and also very predictable to play against. So Kai Havertz up front by himself will work at large chunks of the season, but won't work for the whole thing. And I also think that, I'll be honest with you, I think Kai Havertz's best position isn't actually as a number 9 or a false 9. I think he's going to be one of those 2 pockets of space either side of a centre-forward with Mount taking up the other one. That's what I would kind of predict long term. But he's a fantastic player, Kai Havertz. You need to get the most out of him, and I don't think we're going to do it up front. We create a lot of chances, but we cross balls in the box, don't really score headers. We kind of put chances on a plate, we score them, it's great, but can't do that all game. You might win 1-0, 2-0, but you're not going to win 4 or 5. You're not going to be able to come from behind because the second that you go from behind, you're just going to have to, they're just going to sit deep against you and the pockets of space that you're trying to exploit aren't there. You can see where I'm going with the logic about Kai Havertz playing up front by himself. Someone like Haaland, different types of finish, can shoot from inside the box, outside the box, can win headers, has got it all. Lukaku, a little bit different. Serie A is quite a slow league. Inter Milan play very quickly, but are they playing that quickly or are they playing against very, very slow opposition? And I think it is a mixture of both. Now, it's not criticising Hakimi or Lukaku, but the goal that kept getting shown when we were linked with Hakimi is when Hakimi ran from one end of the pitch right the way through to the other. Lukaku was the one that was supporting him. I can't remember who scored it. It was a tap-in essentially at the end. I think it was Lukaku, but it was the interchange and they just literally steamrolled their way through. That ain't going to happen in the Premier League. And if it does, it's going to be a very rare occurrence. And I never wanted to kind of get on the Hakimi vibe, because I don't look at him and think he's going to go and win us a game. I think he can go and do us a job, but I didn't think £80 million for a wing back was going to go and win us the game. Now, the two bids that Chelsea have put in are apparently club record bids to go and get Lukaku as a centre forward. Lukaku has done well in Italy. He's done very well in Italy based on the space that he has. And when he was at Everton, again, same kind of thing. He scored, I think, 25 goals in his last season at Everton and had space. So he moves the ball, moves it quicker, and it works. I think Chelsea need a centre forward. If you go and get Lukaku, Haaland is done. That ain't happening. He ain't coming. Just kind of get it into your heads. And that's the only kind of thing I worry about with this kind of third bid for Lukaku. Is Raiola and is the Haaland team going to look at it and go, well, Chelsea's off the books? Because if you go and spend a lot of money on a centre forward this year, you're not going to get Haaland next year. Because there's going to be a bidding war and they're going to go, yeah, we've just brought him. So we're not really kind of on the vibe, unless you're going to sell the centre forward a year later, which would probably seem a little bit harsh, especially if it's Lukaku as well, at like 80 or 90 million, whatever the hell they want for him. It just rings alarm bells for everyone involved, including the Haaland camp. So for me, I still think Haaland is the way to go, but that deal looks like it's increasingly unlikely to happen this summer. Now you're getting into a bidding war with a lot of other people from around Europe, and there's going to be problems that come into play. The alternative is you could potentially move from in January. I don't think he's going to want to go. But the way that Borussia Dortmund played last year, they just about qualified for the Champions League. Depends on how the draw goes. If they get knocked out of the Champions League, he might as well move in January, because he's got nothing else to miss out on. He's got nothing else to gain from being at Dortmund. Otherwise, other than he might, make top four, he might win the league, but it depends on the circumstances. Chelsea are always going to be in with a shout of winning the league, and Haaland would make us better completely. As would Lukaku. It's not a kind of criticism against either one. It was just something that I would like to kind of see a little bit more of, a little bit more intent to go and get the centre forward, that he is the guy and he's going to be the one that's going to win us the league title. I think it's Haaland. If the deal is unlikely to do, then fine. Just don't go all gung-ho for Lukaku, because the Haaland deal is going to be a madness. Lukaku, especially at 90 million, if that's the rumoured number, he has to be correct for £90 million. Because if he's not, you're just going to get bantered. And we had this guy who was at the club and we sold him, and we've now brought him back for a massive fee, and he never lived up to the hype. That could be exactly what happened with Paul Pogba happens to us. Man United sent him away, brought him back, never hit the ground running as much as he should have done anyway. But it's just a little bit of a hesitation thing on my end to go all gung-ho on Lukaku. If he's the right guy and Chelsea are absolutely adamant and set on him, then brilliant. Bring him in. He's a great centre-forward, but just don't do it for the sake of doing it because Haaland doesn't work out. He should be the right guy, especially at 90 million. So that's kind of my take on that situation. Let's talk about Jules Koundé, because that was another thing that was mentioned. He wants to come to Chelsea. The personal terms are agreed. It was going to be, I think it was 25 million and then Zuma. I don't know what's going on with that one. I've seen rumours saying that Zuma wants to go to West Ham, wants to stay in London. He was with Tottenham before. Don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen, obviously, as Mourinho's gone. But there seems to be a lot kind of in the balance, and it all weirdly revolves around Zuma. If Koundé wants to come, Chelsea want Koundé, that will happen. Whether it be 50 million quid or whatever it be, it will happen. It's just a case of, can we get Zuma involved in the deal or not? Talking about getting someone else involved in a deal as well. The kind of talks about Declan Rice have massively calmed down, which is fine. I understand why. But West Ham have been linked with Zuma and also have been linked with Tammy Abraham. Now, apparently today or yesterday, Tammy Abraham said the words, I don't want to play for West Ham, and then kind of alluded to that Arsenal is a team of his first choice. Now, anyone who doesn't know, Tammy Abraham actually did grow up an Arsenal fan. So it makes a lot of sense. Again, put yourself in his shoes. If someone was going, do you want to get West Ham, would you going to get Chelsea? You're going to get Chelsea. That's the kind of aspiration. And also as well, no European football for Arsenal this year. Lacazette and Aubameyang, we played against them yesterday. Neither of them wowed me. Tammy Abraham, Arsenal try and play the ball in and walk it into the net. Probably be great for Tammy Abraham. Probably would suit his game. I don't really want to sell him there. I think that's all the case for all of us. But if you're trying to get the funds to go and buy this big centre forward, then maybe you have to bite the bullet. I don't like it, but maybe you have to bite the bullet, especially if it's the Haaland deal. But you're looking at 160 million potentially for Haaland, which would be great, but it would have effects on the rest of the team, which is, it is what it is. Another kind of thing I picked up on from the game yesterday was Pat Nevin didn't really want to criticise either Tammy or Batshuayi. He tried to be very neutral and very calm in the commentary, but neither of them were great. And I think that he was kind of demonstrating his thoughts and feelings and opinions about that neither of those two are going to be the starting centre forward for Chelsea. Now, we all know that. It's very obvious, but it also kind of feels like you may not be able to get rid of both of them. So one of them's going to be sticking around. You don't want to criticise the other one, because if you criticise one and he's the one that stays, you're like an idiot, and then blah, 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 blah. You get it. It's a little bit worrying at the same time. And I keep saying worrying because I care about how this team's going to progress forward, because we've had years gone by where we've won Champions Leagues, we've won Premier Leagues, and we've won nothing the year after because we've just taken our foot off the gas. That's not what I want to do. There are some players that do not really deserve to be at Chelsea. As much as I love Michy Batshuayi, is he going to be the person that's going to win us the league? Maybe not. He might score the tap-in like he did against West Brom, be in the right place at the right time off the bench, but he's not going to be the starting centre forward. I don't think Tammy Abraham is going to do that either. So one of them is going to stick around, we think. Hopefully we can get rid of both, in my opinion. I would keep Tammy around if possible, but the wage thing does kind of, again, worry me. Got to be able to make the next step and got to be able to progress. And I don't know if Tammy Abraham's going to, or Tammy Abraham's team, I should say, because it's not just him, it's agents and various different people around him as well. If they if they stick to that 180k a week figure that was mentioned, which is what Callum Hudson-Odoi is supposedly on, then I've got a problem. But if we can keep around and be a bench player, I think there's a hell of a lot worse you could have. However, there is better you could have as well. Werner played up front yesterday. That's an attacking option. That's a striker option. You've got Havertz as well. You've got Armando Broja, who I think is great. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's going to, again, be starting centre forward, but can he come off the bench and make an impact? Yes, he can. There's positives. But I also don't want to just paper over the cracks and say that we are this amazing football team and we're all fine, when we're not, and you've got to continue to progress. And I saw today, Arteta apparently said we are the best team in Europe. Now, of course, we are the champions of Europe, so you can understand that, but every single team is going to look at us and go, wow, we can beat the champions of Europe this year. And even right from early doors, right from the word go, people don't care that it's the second game of the season or the third game of the season. They'll go, we beat the champions of Europe if we got it right. And especially with the tough run that we've got to start off with. Palace, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Spurs and City, I think, are all in our first six. I might have got one or two of those wrong, but definitely the first three are right. That's going to be a tough start, and they're going to look at it as a major scout. But now, I'm going to be at the Chelsea game on Wednesday against Tottenham. Harry Kane, talking about Tottenham very quickly, hasn't reported for training, which is quite interesting, quite nice. Could Chelsea go in for him? I don't see it happening, but maybe they throw in a bid and sees what happens. Maybe they make contact with the agent, or who knows what, I don't know. There's so many different variables. I don't think the Harry Kane thing is going to happen, but if he goes to City, Chelsea's need for a centre-forward goes from here to so high up, it's not even on the screen. It goes up here, because if you want to win the league title after winning the Champions League, if you want to go and win a league title, which should be the thing that we haven't done for 5 years, it should be the thing we should be kind of focusing on now. As much as I say, oh, let's defend our European title, we haven't won a league for 5 years. If you have serious aspirations about doing that and knocking Manchester City off their massive high horse that they've got, you've got to go and get a centre forward and got to go and say, right, we are going absolutely toe-to-toe with you, and we're going to go and give you the best fight you've had for a long, long time. I know we can say about Liverpool doing a similar sort of thing, but again, signed Van Dijk, signed a decent goalkeeper, have the attacking talent. It all just made sense for them. Chelsea have got to do the same thing. They've got to table a massive bid for a centre forward and going, we are coming for that. And even if we don't get there, it just worries Man City enough that they have to think, oh, Christ, right, another year, and then we can add another couple of people here and there. And then we start to get into a real challenge, and we hopefully win a league title. That should be the aspirations. But Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I could talk about, and I've kind of gone on for 15 minutes now, and I don't want to kind of push it too long. I have to be honest, I don't want to do a load of these videos throughout the course of the season. I don't want to do every single time there's a piece of news. I don't want to bag on about it for 8 minutes. But one thing I will say about kind of to round it off, if Lukaku happens, I will not be not happy. I will be accepting of it. I just hope that we're signing him for the right reason, rather than just we can't get Haaland, so let's just kind of throw money at him and see what happens. We've had some great business. We've also had some very poor business in the past, and I don't want that to be one of the bits of poor business, and I really hope it's not. But again, slightly worried that we're doing it for the right or wrong reason. If Lukaku happens, I'll be well happy. I still think Haaland is the way forward. If you don't get him this year, I think you're going to struggle to get him next year. And I think maybe that should be the approach that Chelsea take. And I think that's the approach they're trying to take, but haven't been able to kind of follow through with the exact amount of impetus that they want. Jules Koundé is a good player. He is also 5'10" or 5'11", so don't kind of expect him to come straight into the team and cause massive damage. I think he's going to be the one that replaces Thiago Silva. If you've noticed in the pre-season games, Chelsea have always had a ball player playing in the middle of that back three. We played against Brighton with Chalobah played there, Lewis Baker played there, and I think Chalobah started, against Arsenal there yesterday as well. Middle of a back three, it was a centre midfielder dropping in. They want the ball player. That for us normally is Thiago Silva. I think they want that to be Jules Koundé as well. A year with Thiago Silva for Jules Koundé could make it great, but don't expect him to come in and instantly make things better. Also as well, I mean, he's kind of been compared to Dave, which is a good player, but we didn't pay £50 million for Dave. And I think a lot of people would have given up a lot sooner had we have paid £50 million on Dave. Obviously, club legend, you can't go wrong. But yeah, I think there's a lot of good things. I think there's a lot of progress going on for Chelsea. We have been a bit quiet, but now the fact that it's come out with the news of the 2 bids for Lukaku, it does give us the impression that moves are being made and there is transfer activity going on, because it does seem we did seem that we were a little bit quiet, but it's nice to know we're kind of heading in the right direction. So there's a lot of games coming up. I'm looking forward to it. Again, check out the vlog for the Chelsea-Tottenham game on Wednesday. I'll also be at the Community Shield for Leicester against Manchester City, or whichever way around that is. Make sure you check out the vlog for that. Also going to be a season ticket holder for the whole of the season. So I'll be at every Chelsea home game. And I'm also at the open training session. So anyone coming to the open training session or any of the games, look out for me. I may not have my blonde hair. And also as well, I should round off very quickly with just saying, unfortunately, all this stuff is going. We're having some work done in the studio, and all this stuff unfortunately has to come down. It will return in some capacity, but it may not look like this. So maybe just get your kind of last looking at it, which is a bit of a bummer. But either way, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. And it's just want to see a little bit more tempo to the transfers, Chelsea, but hopefully heading in the right direction. And if Lukaku comes, I'm not going to be unhappy.